Icy winter weather is blanketing the U.S. as a wave of Arctic storms threatens to break low-temperature records in the heartland and spread cold and snow from coast to coast. Today is Sunday, January 14th, 2024, and this is the Dunkley Report. Icy winter weather is blanketing the U.S. as a wave of Arctic storms threatens to break low-temperature records in the heartland and spread cold and snow from coast to coast. It's casting a chill over everything ranging from football playoffs to presidential campaigns. As the three-day Martin Luther King Jr. Day holiday weekend began Saturday, the weather forecast for the U.S. was a crazy quilt of color-coded advisories. They range from an ice storm warning in Oregon to a blizzard warning in the northern plains to high wind warnings in New Mexico. South Africa says more than 50 countries support its case at the United Nations top court, accusing Israel of genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. Others, including the United States, the UK, and Germany, have strongly rejected South Africa's allegations. Many more have remained silent. The world's reaction to the landmark case at the International Court of Justice in The Hague shows a predictable global split when it comes to the inextricable problem of Israel and the Palestinians. The vast majority of countries backing South Africa's allegations against Israel are from the Arab world and Africa. Thousands of demonstrators have converged opposite the White House to call for an end to Israeli military action in Gaza, while children joined a pro-Palestinian march through central London. It's all part of a global day of action Saturday against the longest and deadliest war between Israel and Palestinians in 75 years. Demonstrators in the U.S. Capitol held aloft signs questioning U.S. President Joe Biden's viability as a presidential candidate because of his staunch support for Israel in the nearly 100-day war against Hamas. The plight of children in the Gaza Strip was the focus of the latest London march. In Paris, Rome, Milan, and Dublin, hundreds of demonstrators set off on similar marches. Thousands of protesters have poured into a square in downtown Tel Aviv, beginning a 24-hour rally to draw attention to 132 hostages still held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The crowd heard speeches late Saturday from relatives of hostages and the U.S. ambassador to Israel, along with a message from French President Emmanuel Macron. Sunday marks the 100th day of the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza, and the 100th day of captivity for the hostages. The families are using the date for a new push to pressure Israel's government to bring the captives home. Iowa's brutal winter weather is making an unrepresentative process even less representative. The sub-zero temperatures, icy roads, and life-threatening wind chills may keep some Republican caucus goers home on Monday, but only a tiny slice of the state even takes part in the kickoff to the GOP presidential nominating process. Anyway, the state's population is whiter, more rural and evangelical than the rest of the nation. As Iowa has become a firmly Republican state, the two major parties have diverged on their nominating schedules. The Democrats are starting on February 3rd with South Carolina, while the GOP is sticking with Iowa. But Some experts say there's an argument for kicking things off in a small state. Just a few months after he took office, Attorney General Merrick Garland issued a moratorium to halt federal executions, a stark contrast after his predecessor carried out 13 in 6 months. Under Garland's watch, and a president who vowed to abolish the death penalty, the Justice Department took on no new death penalty cases. That changed Friday as federal prosecutors said they would seek capital punishment for a white supremacist who killed 10 black people at a Buffalo supermarket. The decision doesn't change the halt on federal executions, but Garland's first approval of a new capital prosecution opens a new chapter in the long and complicated history of the death penalty in the U.S. The expansive version of free speech, long accepted in American society, is facing more forceful competition than it has seen in a century. On college campuses, a newer version of free speech is emerging as young generations redraw the line where expression crosses into harm. Their version has no tolerance for speech, leading to physical or psychological harm. The Israel-Hamas war and its rhetoric appear to be widening the fault lines and pushing students to demand that university leaders take a side between clashing versions of free speech. Some First Amendment scholars say younger generations are misguided in their approach to free speech, while some say it's part of a natural cultural progression. Ruling party candidate Lai Ching-te has emerged victorious in Taiwan's presidential election, and his opponents have conceded. Beijing strongly opposes Lai, and the result will determine the trajectory of relations with China over the next 4 years. While domestic issues such as the sluggish economy and expensive housing also featured prominently in the campaign, Lai's Democratic Progressive parties appeal to self-determination, social justice, and rejection of China's threats, ultimately won out. Speaking after his victory, Lai thanked the Taiwanese electorate for writing a new chapter in our democracy. 2 U.S. Navy SEALs are missing after doing a nighttime boarding mission off the coast of Somalia, according to 2 U.S. officials. In a statement, Saturday, U.S. Central Command said that search and rescue operations are currently ongoing to locate the 2 sailors. The command said it would not release additional information on the incident until the personnel recovery mission is complete. The mission was not related to Operation Prosperity Guardian, the ongoing U.S. and international mission to provide protection to commercial vessels in the Red Sea, or the retaliatory strikes. U.S. and U.K. warships have conducted in Yemen over the last 2 days, the official said. With the first primaries of the 2024 election just around the corner, Republican candidates are stuck on the past as the divided party confronts race issues of the present and a desire among its base for a sanitized version of America's history of slavery. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, and former President Donald Trump have all raised eyebrows with rhetoric on the Civil War that fails to acknowledge the atrocities of slavery. Their comments reflect tension inside the GOP as the party grapples with a widespread preference among the party's base for a sanitized version of American history that downplays the impact of slavery and other past injustices. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the World News for Sunday, January 14th, 2024. Thanks again for joining us at The Dunkley Report.